So, hello, good morning. Well, good afternoon. We are coming back from the lunch, just running, but let's relax. A great talk by Piotr Ciepiela, Building Culture on Cyber Resilience in Manufacturing. So, please be really attentive because we are going to learn a lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And I know I stand between this topic and a lunch, so I will try to entertain you as much as possible. First of all, I'm an engineer from the background, and 23 years ago I was actually working on the shop floor. Back then there was a lot of manual things we were doing. The digitalization were coming, some PLCs were happening, but actually I'm happy to witness the whole changes that we've seen in the last 2 decades. And today I'm responsible for cybersecurity. But for many, many years, I was actually looking how the shop floor is changing and what are the how the digitalization is changing the way we operate. So today we have a, I think, very important topic, the topic of culture, but also the resilience, right? Those two words are probably very important, and we will probably go through how to use some kind of culture aspects to build the resilience. So let's begin. Okay, so why we are talking about it? Oh, that's kind of obvious, right? I mean, looking at the statistics, looking what we are having currently. Well, to be super honest, manufacturing is the favorites, right? Like, we are the most beloved by threat actors. We are the most beloved by bad guys, how you call it. And today, manufacturing, as you can see, 25% of all attacks are actually heading towards shop floor. So definitely this is something that we need to discuss, and we need to think about how to protect it. And obviously, if you look at our surroundings, we have more and more people discussing and thinking about it, right? Not some long time ago, Warren Buffett, who is a famous investor, right, had nothing to do with cybersecurity. He was asked, what is the biggest risk? And he said, well, for me, it's cybersecurity. I don't know much about cybersecurity, but definitely this is the biggest risk for me. And then, well, they actually thought that this is something that is very strange, so they asked him again. And next year, he reiterated the same. He said, cybersecurity is a bigger threat than nuclear weapons. And the reason behind that was because the ecosystem. Because we are not talking about, let's say, standard IT. We are talking more about IoT. We are talking about shop floor, operational technology, critical infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So definitely very interesting time for us. Now, looking at the numbers again, you can see that the standard cost of cyber attack is 5 million. Now, make no mistake, this is just one attack. And you can be attacked many times. You can, in fact, be attacked constantly because you are favorites, right? If someone will attack you successfully, they can come back, right? And also the second thing is, well, our adversaries are not, teenagers in the hoodies. We are always looking at this, in the movies. It's always someone who is very young and actually, experienced and working on alone. Today, this is not the case. Today's organized crime is actually something that we are talking about over here. It's not a random attacks. It's actually a huge, huge business, and a very good one. We are talking about trillions of dollars. And it's actually 12 zeros, so it's a huge number. And if you think about it, this is actually kind of a 500,000 every second. So if I clip every second, it's actually 500,000 that we are losing. So definitely very interesting time for us, and we need to fight the bad guys. And today I will talk more about how to do it in the shop floor space. Okay, so starting with operational technology, right? OT, manufacturing. We need to start with a little bit of history. And this history is in many, many situations the actual things we are seeing. Isolation, islands, kingdoms, you name it. In majority of cases, if you have number of plants, number of let's say, places, they are managed separately, right? Each plant, different teams, each plant, different systems, each plant, actually different architectures. So if you look throughout, you will not see standardization. And also, if you look at the shop floor, well, you can have the same systems but different configuration. And this is how we used to operate, and I was there as well. It's not necessarily very bad, right? If I was working on the shop floor, that was my machine. Something happened to machine, I knew exactly what to do, right? But when I was away on vacation, holiday, nobody knew what to do, right? Someone needed to call me, there was a problem, and so on and so forth, right? So today, it is not effective anymore, right? Still, we have this isolation. We are actually on the journey of centralization. And let me give you an example, actual example. So we had a situation when in one of the plants, there was a successful cyber attack, okay, on OT, on the manufacturing environment. And we were helping organization to recover and also make sure that we will reconfigure, we will get back the systems to run. Now, what we said after that was, there's like 26 different plants you are operating. Therefore, why don't we have a lessons learned session? So we will gather all the plants and we will explain what happened and how we recover and what to do in order to prevent it. Now, during this session, one of the largest sites actually said, well, we know exactly this one because 6 months ago we had exactly the same situation, right? But they didn't say anything to anyone, right? So if they were, sharing the experience among the, the community among the sites, probably we could prevent the next cyber attacks. Because again, what I said at the very beginning, if a cyber attack is successful, they will come back, right? Or they will target your different plants. So definitely this isolation is, maybe good in terms of like a very quick response, but from the perspective of broader organization, it's very difficult to handle. The one thing I want to mention as well is safety. We are talking about culture over here. Obviously, we have, have isolation, we have, the technology that is different, but something we can definitely use, and you should use, is safety, especially when you have a safety culture. It's easy to spot. If you're entering the plant, sometimes you can see the poster. 200 days without the accident, or 300 days, or 20 days, because we value, human lives, definitely. And if you have a safety culture, definitely you can use it for cyber. Why? Because in today's world, the new safety standards will also have a cybersecurity. And you will see a lot of examples that, I think the bad actors know that they can attack from IT systems to OT systems or to safety systems, right? Because if they will influence the safety systems, that will be impacting our health and our lives, right? So today, in order to make sure that you are covered from the safety perspective, you also need to take into consideration cybersecurity. That we can use as well for us. Okay, so where we are heading to? Definitely, there's a huge opportunity for us to centralize, be more effective on the shop floor, on the manufacturing level. And we are seeing the convergence happening, right? Of course, looking at the slides, you have many things over there, but I will just use 3. First is the standardization. And I just mentioned a couple of examples, but standardization is a key. If you have solution from one vendor, it should be standardized across. Why? Because if something will happen, you will have experts in many different places. But also, you will have a documentation, you will also know what to do in order to make things working in the best possible way. The second thing is unification. Again, the way you configure the system. It is crucial actually to say, this is the way we are running our business, and this is the way we configure our systems. Anything can happen, and actually recovery is very difficult if you don't have a standard way of configuration. Of course, you can say backups. I believe in backups, but you will, on OT systems, some of the systems will not be backup. So it's good to have the right configuration. And the third thing is actually visibility. So visibility seems very, very obvious. What we actually have on the shop floor. We have checked, and 82% of respondents, of 82% of companies we've talked to, they don't have any asset management, OT asset management, like none. So they have no idea how they operate. Of course, it's operating well. They have their engineers. Everything looks good, but they don't have like any list of the assets. And if you think about it, it's also like the visibility brings you like prioritization. So let me give you again an example. We were starting an asset management project, and we asked the company how many OT assets you have. And they said, okay, in this particular plant, we have 200 assets, 200 OT assets. We're walking in, doing the verification, doing the stock count. Basically, we found 4,000 assets. Yeah? The perception was 200. The actual number is 4,000. So think about it. You have no visibility. You cannot manage. You don't know how many vulnerabilities you have over there, right? And the standard difference between perception to the actual number is 9 times difference. So I'm pretty sure that some of the organizations are not different. And maybe a third thing, sorry, because from this perspective, let's say you have a vulnerability and you know it. Okay, we will discover a very important vulnerability in one of the controllers, right? The shop floor is at risk. We're saying we need to find it. Sometimes to physically find the controller, it will need 2 or 3 weeks. Right? It's very strange because even if you know that it's there, you don't know exactly where. So you can look through the number of cabinets. So those numbers are, I think, very interesting, but there are actual numbers that we are seeing on the ground. So be mindful of that. We have a huge now push to actually do asset management and asset inventory and a prioritization of that. Okay, so I've mentioned IT and OT convergence. In fact, it's actually converging of the technology first. That happened. You can see a lot of whys, why we are doing this. From my perspective, the biggest push, actually, and biggest change in terms of technology was around 2008. What happened then? Economic slowdown, right? So obviously there was a pressure for cost, and because of that, there was a lot of organizations saying, why don't we buy standard workstation, standard network equipment to the shop floor. And that was it. I mean, we actually get more and more new technology, like standard workstations, standard operating systems mixed with legacy systems, right? But the digitalization has started, and actually it was needed. But that's technology. One of the most important aspects is actually people aspect, and of course, the way we are managing and we are operating. And I'm talking about obviously operating models, but let me give you, again, an example from one of the CISOs. So we have a situation when very experienced CISO come into play. He was actually from the financial sector, but he discovered that actually there was an operational technology that he need to run, right? And he said, well, I discovered a lot of, Windows 2000, all that stuff, the old system, and I wanted to upgrade it. So I kind of like said, let's upgrade everything. And after 2 months, nothing happened. Like after 3 months, nothing happened. I'm coming back, nothing is there. And we said, it's because, first of all, you probably has no, it's not a solid line. It's not like the responsibility of those people to listen to you, right? The second thing is, well, OT will always be a little bit worried about IT, right? And believe me, for many years I was protecting OT from IT, right? So that was my job. But now I truly believe that we can converge. But the way we can do it is always by cooperation and discussion. So in that particular case, first of all, you need to understand who is in charge. And the second thing, create a body dedicated, let's say, community, how to actually implement those stuff. So always cooperation between IT and OT. And I think it's a huge change recently, because IT knows more about OT. OT understands more how mature solutions from IT can be used. So actually today, we have a very nice ground to do that. Okay, but we are talking about cyber resilience. Okay, the standard cyber resilience is ability to prepare, respond, and recover. Right, those 3 things. And actually, you can see that I've put over here one more thing: adapt. I truly believe that it's not only about identification of a problem, or response or recovery. It's just to make sure that the organization is better after a cyber attack, right? It's like immune system, in your body. If you get sick, your body fighting with that. You have fever, there's antibodies. Next time you get sick, you will be, maybe not even think about it, and the third time probably, you will never see that. So it's about that. Adoption is very important. Getting better, getting ready. It's like again, a bad guy. If you leave the door open, the burglar will come, the thief will come and get it. He or she will come again and again and again, right? So you need to definitely close the door and be better prepared next time. Okay, so we are moving into the direction of how to do it. The first thing is definitely technology at speed. You would like to have a decision today and deploy tomorrow. That's the thing, right? You need to do it fast. You need to do it deployment in a very, let's say, controlled way, but also you want to make it sure that it's happening fast, right? So definitely, especially the manufacturing, the operational technology systems are very special, so we need to be mindful of that. But the good thing is, many of manufacturing organizations deployed dedicated security solutions. So for instance, industrial IDSs recently, and there's a lot of lessons learned how to do it. So actually, quick deployment can be possible, and I think it's very important how to plan it and then deploy it very quickly. You can probably test it in the labs. You can test it, in your space first, but then there's a way to deploy it very quickly, and then to configure in a way that it will bring you benefits. But the second thing is human at center. We are always talking about new technology, right? But the human aspect is very important. So we've done a study together with Oxford University, and turned out that 70% increase of a successful transformation is when you are actually embedding the human factor. Right? You can talk about technology, but there are people over there working, right? So if you prepare that, and you will say, for instance, well, it will help you in diagnosis, it will help you in predictive maintenance, it will help you in your KPIs, daily KPIs, they will listen to that, right? I was there as well, right? Definitely you want to make sure that the production is running, it's 24/7, and you are up with your numbers. But if someone will say, there's additional thing you need to do, it's a challenge. You will say, well, I will do it this in my free time. It sometimes means never, right? But if you say, this is beneficial for you because you will actually be better off on your KPIs, this is actually definitely the way forward. Okay, again, I think there's some practical elements that we need to talk about. Obviously, there are some cycles, there are some things that I believe are very important to mention over here. So first of all, we've started with the organization structure, right? We started with operating model, and this is where it's very, I think it's crucial actually to have a common understanding which parties we are, discussing with, because usually we're talking IT/OT. The reality is, you are talking about process controls engineering, you are talking about infrastructure, you are talking about IT, you're talking about security, and many others. So usually there's a number of groups you need to discuss, and the number of ways you need to do it. And of course, there's responsibilities that you need to embed, but actually I think also the bodies, the communities that you need to create in order to make it in the most effective way. There will be no solutions overnight, but if you can bring the right people in place, I think it's through a conversation you will know what is the right architecture, what's the way forward. One thing over here, again, very practical, ambassadors. There's always someone who is more knowledgeable, who is more aware of cybersecurity, of OT. Someone who is actually into that space. This person will be a very powerful ally. If you can identify those people, sometimes they are very, let's say, respected on the community. It's here can be part of the organization and can bring you a lot of benefits. I definitely recommend that. The second thing is assets. We talked about it, right? The knowing of your assets. Today, make no mistake, when you will connect, you will discover all the assets you have, you will get a lot of vulnerabilities. Hundreds, thousands of vulnerabilities. Knowing your asset means you can actually, prioritize, make sure that you protect your most important asset first. Of course, you can have like vulnerability in PLCs, right? Maybe there's some PLCs that are controlling your critical processes, and maybe there are controllers that are, for instance, controlling gates, something that you can live with. So, understanding your asset, making sure that you prioritize, and making sure you have a step-by-step approach, super important. And it's not possible to do it, in one way. But if you show the plan, if you show actually what's there, I think it's the way, it's an effective way to do it. Then you have response and recover. I had a small discussion before this one about, for instance, security operations center. Should it be together, or should it be like IT SOC and OT SOC, or IT and OT SOC together? I know it's a very controversial topic, right? I know it's super controversial. However, I truly believe that if you combine and have one consistent approach, this is exactly the way forward. Of course, you need to implement dedicated solutions to OT, always check it on the OT level. However, if you can unify the processes, if you actually can make it as a very consistent, I think this is exactly what you need. So, going back to that, you will need to have a specialized people, but in terms of processes, IT and OT, SOC should be playing together. Supply chain. Again, you are not alone. Vendors, they are always over there. And in many situations with the successful cyber attacks, it happened that it was the vendor USB stick that actually brought some malware, or even the vendor was having problems, and then you have like your supply chain disconnected. So over here, definitely look at your suppliers and vendors. Who is the most important? Which company? But also, do they have a plan of cyber attack, right? What they will do, right? Because if they are out of the game, that's probably something you don't want to see, right? And in many cases, it's actually like the ecosystem. And to be honest, I'm seeing a lot of companies, even the small ones, the startups, that using security actually as a competitive advantage. And they are sometimes winning with the big companies because they are showing that cybersecurity is important. It's never happened before. Now it's actually very important, right? So we are looking at this, and we are looking at our supply chain from the security perspective. And the last thing is continuous adaptation. We talk about a little bit, right? So it's not about just fixing the things, but actually how we can make it better. On the very first slide, you will see that OT sometimes there's a lot of legacy systems, right? Discover the legacy systems. You are trying to do something with that, and you are hearing, well, don't touch it because the vendor is not there anymore, right? It went bankruptcy or disappear, so we don't know what to do with that. So first of all, that's a risk anyway, right? So you need to do something with that. But the second thing is, definitely, in order to get better, you need to, like, at some point replace the solution, or you completely isolate the solution with, for instance, network segmentation approach. And over here, it doesn't need to be tomorrow. You can plan in 5 years, right? Sometimes, most of the things you can say like, well, we have some obsolescence management, we can exchange the equipment. Let's make sure you will put the right security controls in place, and actually the solutions you will buy will have this embedded. I'm looking at the time. We are getting towards the end. Last slide, 3 pillars. Actually, this is something we combined with World Economic Forum. I was part of manufacturing resilience team at World Economic Forum, and this is what we come up to. 3 pillars. It's more, let's say, strategic ones, but let me just quickly explain you what they are. First of all, how to build the culture and the resilience. it needs to be a business imperative. So make sure you have the right stakeholders with you. CEOs, COOs, CFOs, they need to understand why this is important. Why, for instance, manufacturing resilience is more important than any other thing, right? Stopping of production, impacting the quality, impacting safety, definitely something different than IT security. The second thing is make initiatives, right? Name it. I mean, name the initiatives. If you have like asset management, if you have network segmentation, if you have like awareness, name it and get the budget. Make sure that you have some budget in place. And a very important tip, those budgets are not necessarily cyber budgets. Majority of cyber budgets today are actually getting a lot of money from infrastructure, from shop floor, from production. It's always like that because they will also co-own it, right? So it's very important actually. If they pay it, they will also want to see it. The second thing is resilience by design, the trust by design. The resilience by design is actually, it's about trainings, making sure that you raise awareness of your people, very important. And right now, I think very, very quick to do, right? I mean, there's a lot of, quick trainings, awareness sessions, tabletop exercise you can have. And the second thing is definitely embed cybersecurity in processes. That's the biggest challenge. If you have implementation, if you have like a new product, if you have anything that you are doing, if you can implement embed cybersecurity, it's the way forward. Remember, it's always better to create secure solutions than to try to secure the solutions after they are managed. The last thing, the ecosystem. We talk about supply chain, and we talk about, that they are part of your ecosystem. And today, I think we are seeing more and more baselines. So if you want to work with me, here's a security baseline that you need to follow. And the companies are doing that. They're actually producing that. They're using a lot of standards that are out there, right? You can use that. But also, they want to be compliant with regulations. NIS2 directive, number of companies are now checking they need to be compliant with NIS2. If that's the case, they see the ecosystem, they see how they can report the incidents, and running the effective ecosystems. Also from the perspective, how can someone help me if the incident happened? It's important. Last thing, communities. Like, it's difficult to fight the cybercrime all alone, right? You will have a very common situation across. So if you will find your peers, discuss with your peers, have some kind of way of communicate, do that. I mean, they will help you out. There are some campaigns over there that are happening and actually targeting very similar companies. So, I think it's super important to take this into consideration. So just as a summary, and the culture and resilience are coming together. We're seeing more things that we can use at manufacturing. Definitely technology at speed, human at center. I think we are really ready to protect our environments. I'm pretty sure you can do it as well. So thank you so much for today's workshop.